The National Association of Realtors recommends home sellers wanting to get top dollar for their homes fertilizer. Now, the recommendation is fertilizer, and it smells to me kind of like fertilizer. What do I mean by that? Well, before we get into that, let's get our update on the market stats and where we are today. I would say there's two aspects to the economy. There's supply and demand. Demand are buyers looking to buy things. Supply are how many there are of something to buy. On the demand side, the key factor for determining demand is interest rates. As long as rates are low, buyers will be interested. And rates have been all year long between 6 and 7%, briefly above a couple times, coming debt down below. Just touching 7% briefly last week, closing slightly below at 6.98. Overall, rates are still such that many buyers want to buy homes and many times have to be competitive in order to get a property. On the supply side is the inventory. How many homes are for sale? We continue record low inventory of all time, below the pandemic, and also half the amount of homes for sale today as there were before the pandemic. Prices can't drop dramatically unless there's a lot of homes for sale. There's not a lot of home for sale. So as long as we have these two factors, low inventory and relatively competitive interest rates, we will have a healthy market. Locally in Los Angeles, the market has slightly cooled a degree. We went from a market action index of 44 to 43 according to Altos Research. But our median list prices continue to be about the same. And the key factor I look at always is dollars per square foot, what you get for a dollar of house. And that's come down a little bit, correcting in the last month or two. But overall, by all historic standards, it's still a solid rate. Almost every listing I have is going into escrow as long as they're priced about where the last home for sale was. Today, if you follow my weekly email or video, you know that I pull out articles I find particularly offensive to the marketplace. My thesis is that as bad as you might think there's misinformation on the news regarding political events and national events, it's worse in real estate. Now you might say, well, yeah, Bill, surely there's some good players. The National Association of Realtors, realtors, you're one. They're good people, right? Well, they are good people. It's a good organization. But many times, like all press, they put out things to put out things. They don't put out things that are accurate, and as a result are furthering misinformation to home sellers. The most recent example of that is the article they put out in their magazine, which gets published to all kinds of other magazines, online services, 5 outdoor projects that pay off the most. Now you go, wow, Bill, they pay off. What pays off the most when it comes to curb appeal? How we get more money for our house? We want to sell our house. It's only worth $500. What can we do to make it look like it's worth $550? Is kind of the question they ask. And it sounds innocent enough, and they have a fancy house there, and they have all these fancy statistics, and they list of projects 1 through 5 that pay off 217%, 104%, 100%, 100%, and 95%. Sounds great, right? Sounds like you're getting a lot of money back for your time. Sounds like your payoff is well worth it. You should maybe do one or all these projects. Well, there's a couple real problems with this. Number one, payoff would be how much money you get more than you spend. So a payoff of 100 is a break even. It's no payoff at all. A payoff of 100 using that statistic is you're going to spend $1,000 and get back $1,000 more on the price of the house. Don't forget though, you've got to do the work to get the work done, meaning you got to call the contractor vendor or price out several, make sure they do the work, be inconvenienced while they do that work, and then it gets done. Nothing happens without time, effort, and energy. So even if you break even at 100% payoff, you're still kind of falling behind the times. I've had customers driving out from Arizona to fix up a house. I said, well, what's your time worth? They're taking enough time off of work to fix up the house for a payoff that might be negative. So notice number one, the payoff. That number, that word is misleading. It's not really a payoff. In one case, if you look at their list, one is a 272% payoff, which means you invest, and we'll get into the details, $415 to get back $900. One's slightly a payoff, 104%, and the other two they list are even, and the next one's below, and the next 5 on that survey are even below that, meaning you lose money, you're going to spend more than you make. So that's the first problem, is the word payoff is mistaken. Second of all, take a look at these numbers. Now, I don't know, does it seem odd to you? Here's the first one, standard lawn care service. Now, standard means you're probably doing it already. Complete 6 seasonal applications of fertilizer or weed control to your lawn. Now, in my house, we have a 2,300 square foot house on about a 5,500 square foot lot. We don't have that much lawn, but still we regularly do fertilizer twice a year and we do weed application. Now, it costs a lot more than $415, but they're saying if you spend $450, the house goes up in value by $900. First off, how do you get 6 applications done for $415? That's ridiculous in Los Angeles, at least. Second of all, how would you know if a house went up at $900? You're telling me you put down fertilizer before you put it on the market, it's going to go up $900, but if you don't put it on, it's not going to go up $900? Or it's only going to go up $800 or $600 or some other number? And remember, that's the only one with a payoff that's significant. That one's $217. All the others are $100, $100, $100, $95, and there's 5 others below that. So the only one that's significant by percentage is fertilizer. That they estimate at $415 for 6 applications. Sounds crazy to me. But somehow they can document that puts the value up at $900. Call me kooky. I'm not buying it. So that's the first major problem I have is the payoff. The second major problem I have is the costs and the perceived increase in value. Now, let's take a look at the projects. This is the report. Very fancy, very impressive. Here's the 10 projects. Here's one, new patio, 95%. So you go into the details. I'm sorry, I lost my spot here. The details, new patio. So what they're saying is, let me skip down, new patio. That you're going to spend $10,500 is what the professionals estimate costs. The realtors estimate costs $10,000. And you're going to get back 95% of that, or about $9,500 in cost. Well, how do you determine that? I mean, no buyer walks by a property and says, oh, I'll pay an extra $10,000 if they had a patio, but I won't pay for it. Therefore, I'm going to offer $10,000 less. How do you even come up with that number? To me, ridiculous. And then let's look at the methodology of the survey. So NAR emailed out to 42,000 members, of which I'm one. I don't remember getting that report or that survey. Of the 42,000, 1,800 responses were received. So the response rate is 4.5%. Now, that's interesting verbiage. That's how many were received. Well, that's troubling. They probably maybe receive back would be the right words. So who is it that responds to an email survey from NAR? The people who are busiest and most professional? Are they the least? Are they people with nothing else to do in their lives? I don't know. I don't want to make a judgment, but it seems to me a pretty non-random sample of people would be the ones who would email back. They'd be kind of similar for somehow. Either they read the NAR magazine or they don't, or they're advertisers, or there's got to be something more to it. That's your data. 4.5% of the whole population, which is marginally even representative, but the way they did it is not representative. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't improve your property. I'm saying that other than cleaning things out, removing smells, most likely any money you spent won't increase the sales value dollar for dollar. Now, if you live in the house, enjoy it and know that you'll get some of that money back when you do sell a year or 5 or 10 years down the road. The purpose of that work is to improve the property, to enjoy it more than to be a quasi-fix and flipper who at the last minute is going to fix up a property to get it sold right before the sale. What do you think? What's your experience? Have you fixed up a house before you sold it? What were the results? Have you had agents tell you that you should spend a lot of money on something? I've recently had a case where a seller was talking to me about the agents who had to go out to the property to recommend staging. And I said, I could have the property in escrow by the end of the week. And there was an issue there where they had some potential litigation, and timing is important too. Time is money. One of the things I tell my customers is if you want to sell your property, there's nothing good that happens from the day you decide to sell it until the day you get your money. Everything else is bad. It's a delay, potential expense, and potential risk. So what do you see? Put your comments down below. And if you think of selling, let's talk about the best strategy to get you top dollar net. If you look at buying a property, let's get together and talk about it. If I can help you, reach out, give me a phone call, text, email me. I'm on social media at Bill Gross Probate. And as always, make today your best day ever. Thanks.